Hi stitching friends, I'm Amy, I'm the Globetrotting Stitcher, and welcome to my Flosstube channel today. If you are new here, welcome. So happy to have you, and I hope you enjoy what we're doing. This is a YouTube channel about cross stitch. If you're a returning friend and subscriber, welcome back. It's great to see you again. So not a whole lot in the way of life updates today. I did want to mention before we get too far into the video, we're having a pretty windy day here today. And it seems to have died down in the last couple of minutes, which is great. But just a note that our bear he is particularly afraid of wind. And so if he comes over and decides to try and crawl into Mama's lap for comfort, you've been warned. But I think now that it's calmed down a bit, he'll be fine. So also wanted to just say to our friends in Turkey and Syria, we are thinking about you and praying for you. I know that those countries have just really had some just tremendous devastation and loss in the last couple of weeks. And so it's something that is very much on our hearts and minds, as well as our friends in New Zealand, both stitchy and non-stitchy, because we have both. But I know that New Zealand has just had a really rough go this year so far. And so just want y'all to know we're thinking about you and wishing you well. Let's see, as far as like I said, not a whole lot in the way of life updates. I've been telling you all for the last couple of episodes that I'm getting toward the end of a major development phase on a project I've been working on for the last 3 years. And so without getting into a whole lot of details, crossed a major milestone between today's video and the last one we filmed an update for. Had a major meeting with the founder of my organization, which took months of preparation, and it was pretty high stress. And that meeting ended up going very, very well. So we were really pleased with that. And so the stress in that regard has ratcheted down nicely. So we've got another couple major milestones to hit, but we're getting close, and it feels really good to be kind of getting past some of these big things that we needed to do. So with that having been said, not a whole lot else to report, but yeah, let's just get into the stitching. So we don't have any finishes or fully finished objects to share with you today, but we have several whips. So the first one I'll share is my full coverage piece. I am working on Rose Trellis In by Heaven and Earth Designs. I'm stitching it 2/2 on 28 count white easy grid Lugana. No, excuse me, 2/1. My goodness. 2/1 on 28 count white easy grid Lugana. And I am using a combination of half stitch and tent stitch. So the last time you saw this, I had made really good progress, and I was getting closer to the front door of the house. So above that door, there's a roof line that kind of runs the length of the house, and I had stitched a fair chunk of that. I was working on kind of some the side sections of the house that are toward the back of the house, as well as working on, there's a hanging basket with flowers, and then there's this kind of white curlicue trim that's a decorative trim above the door. So I had been working in kind of all of those areas and had made some good progress. This is where it is right now. So it's not as much progress as I would have liked to make. Part of that is because the week I was working on this was one of my really busy weeks at work, wrapping up the prep for my big meeting. And part of that is because I was in a really heavy confetti section when I was working on this. So you can see I've carried the roof further a little further more this way. I've finished this decorative kind of scroll work here. I'm almost done with the hanging basket, and you can see I'm kind of carrying down this section of the house here. The other thing that's really started to take shape is you can see the outline of the door here. And then there's this kind of decorative half medallion sort of thing that's really starting to emerge as well. So not a ton of progress, but I'm still pretty satisfied with it. And I'm excited to kind of get past this chunk of stitching. It's going to take me a while because there's a ton of confetti in there, but I think it's going to really feel, looking at this now, especially now that I'm in the 4th row of pages, I feel like this piece has a real presence now in a way that it maybe hasn't before. And And so I'm just enjoying it when I work on it, and I think it's really beautiful. So that is where I am on rose trellising. Okay. The next thing I worked on, was my sampler. And I am stitching Blackberry House by Plum Street Samplers. I am working this on a piece of 36 count platinum Zweigart linen using the called for flosses, and I'm stitching it 2/2. So the last time you saw this design, it was a brand new start, and I hadn't made a ton of progress on it. I had stitched most of the kind of bunting border that goes across the top, and I had stitched in part of or all of a couple of the quilt stars that are scattered across the top. So this is where it is right now. I made pretty good progress on this one this month. This one stitched up much more quickly than I thought it would, and I was pretty satisfied with that. So you can see I've gotten in quite a few of those quilt stars, and I think there's only a couple more to go. I've also started stitching in, I've got the main branch of this kind of arrangement that's in this bowl down here. Started on one of the 2 houses in the design and started stitching in the blackberries and of course some of the leaves, and then have outlined this big bowl that all of it sits in down at the bottom. And my thinking around this, I really wanted to get down to this bowl and start working on it, because what I like to do is kind of work in, especially if you've got a piece where you've got a big element that's going to be, a lot of fill in that could get a little bit tedious. I like to, kind of cycle through and not just work in one section, but I'll do like one strand of one color, and then I'll move to another section and do another strand of another color, and then come in and put one strand of the fill-in, kind of the more tedious stitching. And that way it doesn't feel like I'm saving all of that toward the end, and I just gradually get it done. And so that approach seems to work really well for me. And so I really wanted to get down to this bowl when I was working on this last time, so that I was well set up to kind of take that approach. And as I'm kind of filling in all the pretties up here, I'm also making progress on this big piece of stitching at the bottom. So I'm really happy with where this is. The colors are so pretty on it, and I'm really enjoying it. This particular piece, I should mention, I am doing as a stitch along. It is an open stitch along, so anybody who hasn't joined already is welcome to, but right now Sarah, Stitch Addict, is working on this one. And she was telling me recently that she's cut hers into like 12 sections, and so she's got a plan to finish it gradually throughout the year, which I think is really great. I'm not taking that approach. I'm just taking I'm going to get as much done when it comes up in my rotation as I can. So given the size of this and how quickly it's stitching up, we'll probably finish a little bit sooner than that, but that's okay. Anyway, Paula from Stitching in High Heels also told me recently that she's joining in on this one. So I'm super excited that she's going to be doing that. And then Karen MR and Bunny E. Martins are also with us on this one. So our hashtag is Blackberries for Dad Stitch Along, or Blackberries for Dad SAL. And I started this, I'm stitching it in honor of my dad. So yeah, if you have this, if you'd like to stitch it, if you want to join us, please feel free to jump in. We would love to have you. Let's see. Next, we've got Gary's whips. So Gary, over to you.
All right. Well, the first one I'm doing is Captain America. I'm sure you've heard of it before. It's designed by Awesome Pattern Studios, and it's a 16 count pewter Ada with the called for DMC, mostly. Anyway. So the last time you saw this, I was working to fill out the rest of the black, and that was about it. There's still some more coloring to do, but if you look at it now, you can see that I've filled out all of the black, so that means there's no more black to do in this this particular cross stitch pattern, which to me is pretty awesome because that thing has taken me forever. We're about a year and a quarter right now with that. But at any rate, I'm still enjoying doing it. And all the counting in this one came out okay, so it should look right. My next deal is to start filling in the colors. I'm probably going to start just above where the last of the black is, all the way to the far left. Just above there, I believe there's some gray. I'm going to put that in. And then there's some gray off to the side. I'll put that in. And then I'll fill in just below the waistline. You can see a bunch of empty spaces there. I'm going to fill those in probably last. Well, who knows? I might flip it and do those first. Either way, all I have to do now is fill in those colors. There's still a fair amount of stitching left to do, but I'm almost done. One funny thing is a while ago we mentioned that we put these hoops on this, and the hoops left a stain. The stitching is covering some of the stain, at least where the black is. There's another piece it's not covering, but the stitching is covering some of the stain. So that's where I am on Captain America. I wanted to say America, but I didn't. But at any rate, so the other piece I'm working on is Human Beings, and this is designed by the Demented Stitcher. Oh, and both of those, the Captain America one and this one, they're both Etsy shops. And this is stitched on 16-count rock salt Aida by Color and Cotton. And I'm definitely using the called for DMC with this one, not deviating. The last time I talked about this was the last episode, how I haven't done any work on it for a while, and I was hoping that I would get through and add another letter, which would be the E after being, and see what I could do, beyond that. Well, if you can see now, I actually did get the letter E put on, and I started the letter I. So there's really just a few more letters, and then Beings is done. So this one actually is, I guess you call it a quick stitch, where you stitch it quick. At any rate, so I'm getting through it pretty quickly. If I'm lucky, and I'll get through, finish this one by the end of March, and be really close to finish with Captain America by the end of March, if not completely finished with that one. But this one is it's fun to work on because it's interesting. One thing of note though, the actual pattern itself, which I can't show you, but the actual pattern itself, where the yellow is that you see, that's the letter I, and I've got some more to fill on the top and then a lot more to fill out on the bottom. You really can't see that on the chart. You just can't see it. You have to kind of squint and then figure out, oh, that's an H, and then you look at the chart, figure out what it is, and then you start stitching it. So that's really interesting. I don't know if anybody else has ever run into that, where you've got a pattern and you can't see it. Anyway, that tickled my funny bone. I thought I'd share it. At any rate, so that's where I am with Human Beings, and there'll be more next time. At least the I will be done. So that's all I got.
Okay. All right. The last project we have to show you is a new start. So those of you who watched our recent videos know that a couple of weeks ago I finished my Fancy Lady. I was working on Celtic Winter by Lavender and Lace. And so I pulled out the next piece that I had kitted up and ready to go. And that was at the Met. So this one I've had in my stash for a while. I've had kitted up for a while. And so I decided it's time to just get this done. So I am stitching this. I had an old piece of 32 count, what is it called? Aztec Red linen by Weeks Dye Works in my stash. So I decided to stitch her on that. I am using called for flosses with one exception. So here's where I got to. I am pretty satisfied with that as a brand new start. I think I made really great progress on her. So let me move that out of the way. So as you can see, I've started the big kind of structure or frame that is around her, and got that a good start on that. I've got her little headpiece done. Well, from like here up, it's done. There's still quite a bit to do in her hair as far as like all the beads that are hanging down. And I've stitched in all of her hair. But what you can see on her is I am doing a skin conversion. When I look at this woman, and I've felt this way for a long time, when I look at this chart, to me, she looks like one of those beautiful African-American queens from the jazz age, like those beautiful women that were singing in that era. And I look at her and I'm like, this woman is meant to be, she's meant to be a Black woman. And so I have known for a long time that I wanted to do a skin conversion on her. And where I had started with this one, I actually started stitching her skin using the beautiful skin conversion silks that there's a whole set of those that Almond M&Ms that she does for specifically that purpose, and they're perfect and they're beautiful. So I was stitching her with those, and unfortunately I hadn't gotten too far, but what I found is as I kept going, this fabric is so warm that it was making those tones look too gray. I think on a different fabric, they would have worked perfectly. They didn't work great on this fabric, so I had to rip out my 1/1 stitching and restart, kind of redo my conversion. And I'm much happier with her now. I think I may have lost the ability of, like, I'm questioning my rational thought, because normally, when I've done 1/1 skin on the pieces I've stitched, it's usually the face and like a little bit of the, the décolleté area. But it's not a ton of stitching, so it's not too tedious. This design, I'm questioning myself, because there's the face, there's her whole, like, she's got, a very open kind of chest area here, not chest, but décolletage. And then bare arms. There's a lot of skin showing in this design. And so it's going to be a lot of 1/1 stitching, which is not my favorite to do. But having said that, I'm loving the colors. I'm loving the way they're playing together. I think she's just turning out beautifully. And so I don't regret it, but it is definitely a time commitment. But anyway, she's been really fun to work on so far. This is a very bead heavy piece, and I don't think I had quite realized just how much beading there was in this piece, which is fine. I enjoy beading, but there's a ton of beading in this that you don't realize when you just kind of first look at it. So anyway, I think that's all I wanted to say. This is one, I know there are some other folks working on this. So Bridgen, the museum stitcher, I saw her working on this one recently. She's working down in the skirt. Really, really beautiful. And she's doing hers on a gorgeous piece of fabric. And then Lynn, the Lancashire stitcher, is also working on this. I don't think she's worked on it super recently, but she started this one last year as well. And she's working on a similar piece of fabric, but her fabric has more like variegation and, kind of layers of color to it. It's a gorgeous piece of fabric. So if you haven't checked out either of their channels, you should, because they're both working on this and it's just gorgeous. So I think she's going to be really lovely. I'm looking forward to her coming out again, but very much enjoyed spending time on her this past week. Okay, I think that kind of covers it for all the stitching we have to show. So we just have a little bit of haul. And Gary, I don't know if you would like to share what you got for Valentine's Day.
Why not? Right here.
Your enthusiasm is...
Yeah, it's underwhelming. Okay, so this is what I got. It's called a craft bag. Took me a minute. I didn't know what it was called.
It's called a project bag.
Project craft bag.
Project bag.
Whatever you'd like to call it. It's a bag you can put stuff you're working on in. And Amy made this for me with her hands, her mitts. Anyway, she made this, and that's the back. There'll be pictures. And one of the cool things is is we went through the other day and we made a bunch of, what do you call these?
Zipper pulls.
We made a bunch of zipper pulls. Well, I made a bunch of zipper pulls. And we actually found one that works on this. There'll be a close-up picture. We've got a bunch of them left. We're not sure what to do with them. Maybe we'll put them up and see if somebody wants one or something. But at any rate, I already had one that had Batman and Robin on it, which is awesome. And I never thought I'd get another one. But I did, and here it is. And I really appreciate this because handmade with the hands. Anyway, that's all I got to say about that. See how easily that zipper pull worked there?
Like magic.
There's a dangly bit for you. Anyway, that's it for me.
So that's the first project bag I've ever made. And you guys, it took me part of the reason it took me so long to make it is because I wanted to keep it a surprise. So I could only work on it when Gary wasn't in the house. And he'd be like, oh, do you want to go this place with me? And I'd be like, no, because I was like, I need like 20 minutes to work on this project bag. It probably took me 6 or 7 hours in total to make that project bag over the course of several weeks. But I really enjoyed it. I was pretty happy with how it turned out. I used, Elizabeth Ann Can Stitch has a project bag making tutorial on her channel that is really easy to follow, really well done. And so I used her tutorial and I was really happy with how the bag turned out. So I think I will make some more project bags because it was really fun. But my thinking was that, Gary, like he said, he already has a project bag and that was a gift from our friend Sarah. But now that he's got 2 projects that he's working on, he needs another project bag. So that was my plan for that. Anyway, I thought it'd be fun to share that with you. And then I have one piece of haul as well. And this, I was telling you in our last video that I had spent like my entire budget for the year on haul already. And this came and Gary's like, wait a minute, didn't you just show like 6 new charts? And I was like, listen, I had to have it. So I was watching Paula stitching in high heels. I was watching her most recent video and she was showing this. It's a whip that she's working on. And it's one of those Mirabilias that this is one of the original ones. It's a really old one and it's been retired for quite a while. And for many years when this was still, readily available in shops, it just never spoke to me. Whatever. I thought it was nice, but it was not something I ever saw myself stitching. But in recent years, every time I've seen someone stitching this, the colors are just outstanding. When you see this stitched up, the colors are amazing. And so when I saw Paula working on it, I was just like, oh, I need it. So I went to hunting. And I ended up getting lucky and finding it for a very reasonable price, which can be hard to do with older Mirabilias. So I'll stop talking about it and show it to you. So this is Garden Versus. This is Mirabilia. I think this is number 6. So that just to give you a sense of just how old this particular design is. It originally retailed for $8. That is not what I paid for it. But I did, like I said, I got it for a very reasonable price, especially for a retired chart. So I don't know when I'm going to stitch this one. I haven't, I've got others that are higher priority once I finish at the Met, but this one will get stitched at some point because I think it's got a great classic vibe. And as I said, the colors are just wonderful. So anyway, I was really excited to get this. I was really grateful to find it for a good price. And again, if you want to see just how beautiful these colors are when you actually stitch them up, go check out Paula's most recent video because she's got it really shows them off nicely. So that's it for haul. So let's wrap up quickly. We'll talk about what we're going to be working on over the next couple of weeks. I'm going to spend a week working on Wildflowers by the Blue Flower. I don't think I'm going to be able to get enough stitched on it to get a finish, but I think I'll get quite close to a finish on that if all goes to plan. Just because I'm kind of at that tipping point with it. I am also going to spend a week working on my wildcard piece, which is Bush Market, which I showed in our last video. And it was really great to see how many of you that piece just resonated with you. It's not one that has gotten a lot of playtime on our channel. And so it was really nice to see how many of you really loved it and either have it in your, your whip pile or it's one you want to start. So I would encourage you to. It's a great piece to work on. And then, as Gary said, he's going to be working on both of his pieces over the next couple of weeks. And I'm hoping to show you some good progress on my weekend stitch, which is Butterfly Port Mauve, also the next time we film. So I think with that having been said, we hope that all of you are well. We hope you're safe. We hope that you are enjoying your stitching, and we will look forward to seeing you soon. If you like our videos, please do give us a thumbs up. It does help us in YouTube's algorithm, and we're able to find new stitchers who like to watch what we're doing. You can ring the bell if you want notifications when we post a new video. And if you're not a subscriber, I hope you will subscribe. You can follow my progress on Instagram between videos. I'm globetrotting_stitcher. And you can reach out to us over email at globetrottingstitcher@gmail.com. So stay well, stay safe, and we will see you really soon. Take care.